I have a question for you, YouTube. Do any of you know a guy named Philip Morris? I know I certainly do. I remember talking to my friend Steve Russell the other day, and he was talking about his life story, how he met Philip Morris, and all the complications that arose from their relationship and everything. Oh, who cares? Look, that was a really lame introduction, probably. But this is of course, hence the little introduction and the title above the screen, would be that this is a review for I Love You, Philip Morris. Now, this is the latest comedy from the one and only Jim Carrey. And I can't remember much of his comedies, but I can remember two of them off the top of my head. Well, the first of which I saw was actually Yes Man. The other which was The Mask, which I heard was very good, but it had a really shit sequel, but that's another day. And so when I saw the poster, I didn't watch the trailer actually, weirdly enough. When I saw the poster for this movie, it didn't look too impressive. It looked like another typical Jim Carrey comedy film. But nonetheless, I was a pretty big fan of Jim Carrey, and I really do I wanted to give him a chance with this. So fortunately, I did. And let's tell you what I thought about this movie. But first of all, the plot. Now, it stars Jim Carrey, of course, as Steve Russell. And throughout the film, it tells his life story of how he, after periods of his life, ended up in jail. And of course, it shows how he can't get my words out today, how he meets Philip Morris, played brilliantly by Ewan McGregor, I have to say. And it shows how their relationship becomes intimate, and eventually it shows them getting out of jail through a series of complications, but again it also shows the issues that come out of their relationship and how things sort of go downhill from there. But the question is, does it end positively? Well, I'm not going to tell you. See the movie and find out for yourself. So, let's get into this. Now, sorry, my throat's a little bit sore. But, so anyways, the film itself, right? Now, let's start with the pros and cons. Pros. Now, the acting is surprisingly top-notch here. Now, Jim Carrey, of course, hasn't really done an axe, pardon me for this. Can't get me bloody words out. Okay. Now, here we go. Now, Jim Carrey himself, he really doesn't deliver top-notch performances usually. And this film, he delivered a top-notch performance, although his performance was easily The Truman Show. That was his movie. It was him in his prime. Not to say that he isn't good now, but not quite as good as before. But anyway, with Jim Carrey, I liked what he did best in this film. I liked that he blended the more serious side and the not so serious side of his character so effortlessly and effectively. And I can really praise him for doing that, because sometimes he's tend to notice to, like in Yes Man, even though I really did like that film, as I have it in my collection. But one thing I didn't really like, one thing about Jim Carrey, he kind of went too far for the comedy, and he could have been a bit more serious, even though for that movie it was suitable. But I liked how he really blended his role well here, and I was really impressed with what he did. And you actually felt sympathy for his character, so that was how good of an actor he was. Ewan McGregor was surprisingly even more brilliant. I thought that from seeing him in such kick-ass movies like the Star Wars prequels, again, underrated prequels, don't hate, love them. That's my opinion anyway. Let you decide that. But Ewan McGregor's come from such many action movies to a couple of comedies, and now he's in this, obviously, which is of course a comedy. And the accent that he put on to represent how gay his character was. Now again, this is, before we get onto that subject, this is not an insult to gay people, because I, personally, from a single point of view, it feels a bit strange sometimes, but overall, it's the individual's decision. So I just have to get that point across. To anyone who's gay, I'm not trying to offend you. I respect your decision. I just wouldn't do it myself, but again, you can't force someone to not be homosexual if they wish to be. Back onto this though. The gay accent that Ewan McGregor put on for his role, I was super impressed with it. Even if his when he shouts "Steven" over and over again, after Jim Carrey's character, it can get, even though that can get annoying, it's still nonetheless, it really worked though. I was really impressed with the American accent that he actually put on for this. And considering he used to be Scottish, he was born in Scotland, I think. But I was really impressed with his accent here. Other pros about the film. Now, the other pro about the film I really liked was how it blended drama and comedy together. Now, I've said this for Jim Carrey's performance, but the film as a whole really, really blended it extremely well. It didn't lean towards one genre. Hang on. Ow. Right, sorry about that. How it didn't focus on the drama too much, or the comedy too much, etc. Unlike 500 Days of Shit, which unfortunately leaned too much towards the drama and forgot completely about the comedy, and it just became a bore fest for me. So, I'm not going to mention that piece of shit ever again, and I'm going to forget it like it ever happened. So anyways, but the chemistry between Jim Carrey and Ewan McGregor's character worked, which is another good thing as a result of the drama and comedy thing, that it blended together, and that's what I appreciated. Another thing I liked about the film was that its editing, the cinematography is pretty good, although it's not, you can't really say much about it, considering it's a comedy, but, I mean, the cinematography is more noticeable in horror or action movies, but I liked how the editing in this movie worked. Now, I'll give you an example of this. I remember at one point I was wishing for, I remember there was a quiet scene, right, and I was wondering what would happen next, and it immediately cut to Jim Carrey having sex with a man, and that was super funny. The timing of it was just, you know, the scene itself wouldn't have been as effective if it wasn't for the brilliant timing there, you know. So that's another plus. Now, you may think that this sounds like it's a fantastic movie and I love it to bits, but no, there are a couple of flaws which I'm going to mention right now. One of the first flaws was that sometimes I think that the movie itself was a bit too long. It did feel kind of sluggish. I didn't particularly like how actually no, I haven't really thought of any other flaws. Here's the main flaw I had with I Love You, Phillip Morris. The movie itself, it didn't know what speed it wanted to go at. It didn't quite... Right, I'll give you an example of this to explain what I'm talking about. At one scene where it was really sluggish and slow, I was practically on the verge of falling asleep, and I was about to say to my friend, something happened, please. And then the sex scene came in, which literally, you know, came about a split second after I said that. See, that's my point. In one scene, it's really sluggish and slow. Then the next is brilliant, and then it goes back to being slow again. It doesn't affect the movie too much, but nonetheless, it did bother me. It kind of felt a bit too sluggish and slow paced, then too rushed at some points. Another thing I didn't like about the film, sometimes Jim Carrey and Ewan McGregor's character, the chemistry is brilliant, don't get me wrong, but again, from a singles point of view, it just looks a bit weird. Look, but overall, to sum things up, now I Love You, Phillip Morris, it's definitely not a waste of time at the movies. It's a really, really funny movie. It delivers the things that I think it was as good as I was expecting, as I was hoping, and it didn't suck, which I thought was really good, unlike 500 Days of Summer, which again sucked big time after being way overhyped. But I Love You, Phillip Morris didn't suck at all, and it really was an effective comedy, and it was a good life story to figure out about. So overall, like I say, it's not perfect or fantastic by any means, because again, it didn't know what speed to be at. But I'm going to give it 4 stars out of 5. I thought it was a very good movie. It was just about great. I thought that it could have been better. Like I say, though, overall, my final grade is 4 out of 5 stars for I Love You, Phillip Morris, and we'll find out soon what Jim Carrey's next movie is going to be. So until next time, YouTube, Michael Bowers, signing out.